Good. Good afternoon, everyone. Do you know that it's 20 years, roughly, from this day, that they invented a term called Internet of Things. It was a guy from Procter & Gamble. Was he a shearer? No, I can't remember his name. Anyhow, it was closely related to a RFID technology. But it's only 5 years that IoT has kind of reached the mass markets. And Finland, in kind of a, all of its kind of a, the Finnish industry, whether it's forest industry, chemical industry, mining industry, manufacturing, we've been kind of carried the torch of IoT and digitalization of these heavy industries, even on a global scale. Today, the percentage of the Finnish trade, so the export, we are exporting, over 30% is services industry. And out of those services industry, of course, we sell goods. We sell these iron things. But kind of related with those, we have services. And it's going to expand rapidly. So I think it's fairly cool that we Finns, who do not talk, are selling services more than many, many others. And in the future, even more, because of the technology, because of the digitalization of the industry, because of IoT. So, once again, thank you for having me here. My name is Tomi Ruotimo, I'm the CEO of Houston, and we've been founded 2003. I founded it back then, being before 10 years abroad. And we are basically all about software. We are software providers, IT services, and lots of design as well. And our dear beloved sister company, Houston Analytics. I hope you've seen them. They are amazing as well. Yesterday they had a keynote presentation of Colin Shearer. They are, as the name says, all about analytics. Our DNA in Houston has been quite traditional, customer-centric IT. We started from the finance sector, then we moved to media sector, then we had telco, then we had a kind of a gambling betting house called Veikkaus, then Finnair was our client. But something like 2010, we moved, or not moved, but we also took over of the industrial sector. Basically, we started from the cranes. And I'm now telling you kind of the story, how we've seen it, how the Finnish industry have been digitalized over these 5 years extremely rapidly. So let's take a look at the traditional smokestack industry. We still have those kind of factories. We certainly have had those in 90s a lot. And nowadays, we have these James Bond look-alike factories like this one from Metsä Fiber, Äänekosken tehdas, Äänekoski factory, which is totally IoT-sized, sensorized. There are over 1,000 sensors. They are soon having predictive maintenance systems on board. They are retrieving data, all of those production lines that they have on those in that factory, and they are thinking of even kind of a data harmonization and industrializing the whole predictive maintenance. So how they can serial the predictive maintenance, and that's just one story of the Finnish forest industry. There are other stories like Stora Enso story, UPM stories, which are alike. So I'm fairly impressed of how Finland have succeeded to being #1 player globally in this digitalization of multiple industries. what we've done, our first business was to, with a certain crane company, there was a CEO of the crane company that really admired General Electric's IoT strategy back in 2008, 2009. He was thinking, my turnover is 1 billion euros. Out of that, the service business is 13%. How the hell I can increase the amount of service turnover in order to get more percentages out of that? So we built kind of we didn't set up ourselves, we don't have sensors, Houston, but they sensorized these cranes globally from Anchorage, Alaska to Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, and then retrieved the data remotely to Finland, and then developed analytical models, a machine, helvetin kone in Finnish, that's my word, no one else, which is analyzing how much weight one crane can lift per certain period of time, like per day. What are the environmental conditions the crane is in? It's all about mathematics, crane. It's all about iron and mathematics. So what is the humidity in the place it stands? What is the temperature in the place it stands? Out of those factors, we integrated a model and then assumed, predicted that this and this part of this and this crane has to be replaced on this and this time. So basically there were thousands of maintenance men globally, and we gave them Android phones, and through the Android phones, when a guy from Kuala Lumpur wakes up on a Monday morning in September, he can see that he has to replace a part in a harbor, port number 10, crane number 3, by noon, in order to get the operational system in that particular harbor, in that particular port, running, rolling all the time. No any kind of dead time zones. So basically out of that, we then have now established a data lake and then built some kind of a situational awareness system, which I'm going to tell you later on. Because another industry, if this is manufacturing and the previous one was forest industry, I have a third example, third case from the maritime industry. Finland, due to the Arctic circumstances we are having here, has always been the world leader in maritime. You know that Helsinki is #1 port in the world with a passenger flow. I didn't know that. I was told by Ministry of Foreign Affairs that Helsinki is #1 port in the world in terms of passengers. And was it #5? No, it can't be. #5 maybe, with the materials, containers. So basically, no wonder we have built the most prestigious icebreakers, and they have had sensors there a long time in order to measure the thickness of ice. And now we are building not only one, but many sites in Finland, autonomous ships, autonomous vessels. And in kind of the same time, we are trying to avoid all the collisions that are happening on the seas. Collision avoidance, which is more or less the situational awareness. We are now, at the moment, because we have this fighter campaign in the government, there are 5 candidates, Lockheed Martin, Boeing, French, British Aerospace, and Saab. So we are the prettiest girl in the village at the moment globally, because it's so huge. So in the military world, for instance, these situational awareness things, autonomous things that Wärtsilä and the others are doing, it's really valuable, and the world is kind of looking at us. At least US Navy is looking at us at the moment, not the whole world maybe. So basically, these were the ships, the vessels beforehand, and now we have the autonomous collision avoidance and navigation systems in where when somebody is going to take over us and we are the captain on the bridge, we know what is the distance of the other vessel, how fast it goes, so what is the speed of the other vessel, and where it's heading to. And we can see, because of these sensors, we can see miles away with radars, with automated identification system, which is in maritime industry standard, with LiDARs. There are so neat new LiDAR technologies, with weather instrumentation by, for instance, Vaisala, that is installed on board on many, many vessels, with different camera systems and other sensors that are on the bridge, on the machine room, and on the deck as well. So based on these, we collect the data, we ingest it, we even digest it, the data. We establish, we build, we calculate the mathematical algorithms in order to get the preliminary modeling systems. Then we are fitting it into the use that we are using the model at this particular time. And we will get a data insight and the really kind of a state-of-the-art user interface in order to get situational awareness application for the use of captain and even for the coast. So these kind of situational awareness systems are used not only in maritime, but in aviation as well. Not only aviation, both military and commercial side. Also in healthcare. And I thought recently, why not even in all the industry sections? All the industry sectors can be used this kind of a system. It might be slightly different, but if we think about predictive maintenance and, for instance, the serialization of that, the industrialization of predictive maintenance, it can be used by situational awareness. We can talk about prognostic health maintenance systems as well, prognostic health maintenance systems of industrial production lines, which are still fitting under this title called Situational Awareness Platform. So if Finland has been, and I believe it's true, #1, along maybe with Swedes and Norwegians. I don't know about the Norwegians though, but in IoT, how do we globally compete against, mainly in EU, against US and China in the future? Chinese, we got a tiny analysis project from Port of Singapore, and there were Chinese cranes. ZPMZ was the company, and they tried to digitalize their cranes to the Port of Singapore. And at this point of time, they were not ready to invest as much as the Finnish companies are, but I'm sure in the near future they are willing to invest the same amount of money of digitalizing the industry. So we Finns, we have to be ready, aware of the global changes in order to keep the distance of those new players. So basically what I'm thinking myself, that the sensors will certainly be smarter. The platforms will certainly communicate with each other, so it'll be platform of platforms. This example is when, by the way, we're having a fleet of several vessels and we're trying to have a look in a control room of the vessels, if they have any anomalies, if they have stopped, if they have anything which is not predefined on their routes. And then we can click on a certain alert and see what's wrong with that particular vessel. Like Maersk, for instance, could use this kind of a control room. But what we have done, what we have heard today so much is how do we collect, gather data, how do we ingest data, what are the like telecommunication capabilities, what are their sensor capabilities, how do we kind of use IoT edges, how do we use data fusion in order to get the data out of or sensor fusion in order to get the data out of those, and how do we sort the thing out from there. But we haven't thought, I haven't heard at least, that we have discussed about the user or users who are using these applications or this information which is driven out of the data. So instead of old-fashioned Google, who is giving 3.4 million answers if we are writing a single question, we should not think data as a vacuum we are delivering. We should have only one answer or max 4 answers of the questions we are representing. So instead of 3.4 million Google answers the internet is giving us at the moment, we should have only one answer. So user-centric thinking is the key to keep the competitive advantage Finland is having tomorrow as well. We are having it now, but also tomorrow.